been patiently waiting on that moment when you help me look my best. I know you feel the calibration. I'm so excited, my heart's beating out my chest. I finally got the revelation that the only one I need is you and nobody else. No need for further conversation. This is the only choice I'm making. I do not look like I'm supposed to. Give me till you see more of you. I wanna look like you. Oh, maybe I just need a fade. Please don't throw me away.
Lord, just make me fresh. Lord, just make me fresh.
Lord, just make me fresh. Lord, just make me.
Lord, just make me fresh. Lord, just make me fresh.
Lord, just make me fresh like you. Because he told me just what you. I really wanna walk you.
First met Rodney at the age of, I'm thinking about 16. He walked into my classroom and he was in the gospel choir at Northwest High School where I taught.
I remember meeting Rodney, I believe, at Mount Olive, probably about 15, 16 years ago. It's been a long time, probably even longer than that. I remember walking into the old sanctuary at the time, was the gym, and hearing this young man play on the piano. And I didn't know who he was at the time, so we introduced ourselves. Come to find out years later, maybe a year or two later, that we would end up meeting each other again at Arlington High School, where we developed a wonderful relationship.
I remember Rodney, the very first time I saw him, he was actually opening up for a quartet group's live recording. That was the first time I had saw him. He was singing and playing. This had to have been maybe around about 2005, somewhere around then. And he was asked to do devotion and everything, and I walked in and I didn't know who he was, but I saw him playing and singing. I said, "Man, who is this guy? He can sing." You know, and he was carrying around a Roland XP10, like a pretty cheap keyboard. But and he was dressed to the T, and he was killing it, And from that moment on, I had to find out who he was.
Yes, I met Pastor Rodney Phillips probably in about 2005. He finished a project. He was trying to get some information from me, some direction. So I was able to sit with him and have a conversation with him about, moving themselves and moving yourselves toward the industry and putting yourselves in the mix of a few things that would kind of excel you to that. So it's probably how we met, probably providing him with some opportunities to showcase his talent, because doing that kind of gives you the leverage of, what you should do, how you should do it, how you gauge your audience. So that is probably some of the tools that I gave him to assist him in the ministry that he loves and is passionate about.
He made a lasting impression on me. That we've had some encounters that I think will go down in history. But for the most part, what I would really want you to know about Rodney, from my perspective, is that I've always seen the fire. I've always seen the spark. I've always known that he was a creative person, and that he really enjoyed music. And I didn't know how far he would go in terms of pursuing it, but what I did know that there are some people that you meet when they're starting off relatively young, and they rearrange songs because they can't really figure out how they can't figure out all the chords and stuff. So what I noticed about Rodney early on is that when he rearranged stuff, it was because he really wanted to rearrange the song. So that's one of the things I appreciate. I don't know that I've ever told him that though, but this is one of the things that gave me a little more respect. And if we would go back to, just throughout from that period on to now, the times that I see him, the times that I see him ministering, what I didn't realize then was he always had an edge on what was happening. So I guess when we were working together, I felt like I was trying to lock him into where we were trying to be as a group, and really maybe I didn't recognize early on that he had another perspective.
Just always bright, always, respectable, always kind, and behind that kindness, and it was some talent back there, and I'm like, oh my God, this boy can sing. So, we began to have rehearsal with the choir and everything, and through all of that, learned that God has given this boy a great amount of talent. And we began to sing around and gave him a solo, and he began to sing and everything. But not knowing that behind all the singing and all of the smiles and all of the witty, respectable, that it was some problems behind that.
As a matter of fact, I can remember him. I started RLGC probably about 15 years ago, and I asked Rodney to come along with me and help me, man, and help me do that.
Producing with Rodney, for Rodney, on his projects has been it's been quite an enjoyable experience. The one thing that I always have admired about his direction in music is that he likes to incorporate not only, of course, he's a master at lyrically stringing words together.
He's probably produced several CDs at this point. He's a workaholic. I try to gauge some of his work in other areas, which would be a lot more productive. He's a studio man night and day, 24/7. 365 days a year. I don't even think he takes off the Lord's Day on Christmas, but I don't know. And try to steer him to do some other things. Video, that whole media world certainly has its advantages, but there are some other advantages to some other things. And so trying to get him to steer himself into some other areas would probably be a good key. And where we're at this particular day. We hang out, we go eat. Not that we probably need to, but we go eat, we hang out, we ride around town. Ain't no telling what we're into at some points of this day. And watching Rodney's ministries, whether it's music, whether it's pastor, just kind of flourish and take their time and move to where God wants it to move. He studies hard and he works hard. So when you do those two things and put those two elements together, success is certainly sure to come.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Jesus called. I'm so glad he wipes all of my tears away. Yes, that's it right there. And here's what I like about.
What you like about it?
She waiting.
Come on, holla back.
He'll take your glue. Yes. He'll take your glue. He'll take your gloom and it's yes.
I like the fact that he embraces music. It's not just one style that he is after. But he, you know, he embraces music. He embraces live instruments, as well as the production that you hear nowadays. You know, with the drum machines and sequencers and different things like that. But the main thing is his message. It's impeccable how he relays it, because it never strays away from the Word of God.
It was such an early morning event. I think maybe it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe, or earlier. Rodney had decided that he was going to insert something that he had been rehearsing, and he was going to tell me right before we went on. I said, "Oh, okay. Well," I said, "Yeah, you can sing that, but not this morning." And so what I really appreciated about it is he did stand up for what he believed. He said, "Now, we came all of this way to sing this song, and we've been rehearsing, and we got it," and all that kind of stuff. And I had to assure him that they were not going to sing that song in the morning. But I do have to give some mad respect, you know, for him at least trying to do what he felt that he came there to do. And I think he had a lot of people to support him. He had a lot of support. So I knew that meant that he had some leadership qualities that would show up another kind of way later on.
And me being a teacher, you know, took a great heed of that, because noticing some things that he was having problems at home and everything, but yet through it all, he was smiling through it. He remember telling me that he was homeless. I said, "Oh my God, this can't be."
So, and through the years, I mean, I moved away, moved to Houston, and all that kind of stuff. When I came back, it was great to know that he was still involved in ministry. So many things, especially in that community and that neighborhood, that, you know, really could have consumed him and taken him in a different direction. But it was good to see that he really had a heart for God and a heart for ministry and a heart for his point of view and his how could I say this? He was not letting his creativity take a back seat to what may have been the most popular thing to do. So, you know, I got mad respect for him, and I enjoy his music. And he's, you know, in terms of he's a musician, great singer, great songwriter, as you're going to see in this project. And if you've been following any of his projects, they get better and better and better.
Coming to his life, I said, we got to do some things. So we began to mold and shape in some things in some areas, as far as, you know, helping him whenever he needed to eat, whenever he needed clothing, whatever he needed. I was there because I've been at that place.
It's a funny story. My brother was about to get married, and the preacher, his longtime pastor, that he used to be a member of the church. They're really good friends still. Was supposed to officiate the wedding, and on the way there, he ended up getting in a car accident. He wasn't hurt or anything, but the car was totaled, and he just was not able to make it. And he called my brother on the day of his wedding to say, "I can't make it," the preacher. And so my brother is, he calls me, he says, you know, of course, you know, my nickname is Buster, so he's, Buster, man, man, can you do our wedding, man? Or can you, and, I'm not gonna lie, at the time, I was just not quite up on my wedding stuff. I've done more funerals and stuff, I just I wasn't quite up on my wedding stuff. I should have been. He's stressing out and everything. I said, wait a minute, okay, let me see if I can find somebody for you. And the first person that popped into my head was Rodney, Pastor Phillips. And so I thought it was a long shot. I honestly thought he was not going to do it. Simply because I had called him maybe like 30 minutes before the wedding. So, this is really funny. I'm sorry. I called him about 30 minutes before the wedding was supposed to start and told him just the drive out there was going to be about that amount of time. And so, but I called him. He happened to be available, and I said, "Bro, I need your help. I need you to do my brother's wedding." And he said, "Okay." Said, "Let me jump in the shower, throw some clothes on." I said, "Oh my God," So, and he actually beat me there. Came, when he was there. Decked out on a roll. He was ready. Came and did the thing. And I'm telling you, it took my respect for him as a preacher and pastor to another level. I'm just like, I think I don't think anybody else would have done that. I just don't. I just don't think, especially, it was on a Saturday, they're, doing, Saturdays are usually a relaxed day, but just like that. It's the kind of person he is. But it was funny. But, he pulled it off. And then right after he was done, he said, "I got to go."